Huh, oh yeah, I should probably check on, the vote last time. Or at least the poll. Huh, I wonder how many that you decide to, go for. And I'm also quite curious, too. I wonder if they actually didn't want to, let Izuku basically act as like the new leader of Team Card. Oh, I see. Well, it seems that we're gonna be letting Izuku be the brand new leader of Team Cardinal. Actually, we should probably name it into something else. Just comment down below, guys. Anyway, continuing on with the episode. So, hello guys, I am back from another video and today we're talking about what if Deku was in RWBY. So in the last video we talked about how after waking up from a pretty, normal-ish day, sort of, but after waking up and realizing that Weiss is in his bed, well, after trying to convince her to basically get off him and probably go back to her bed, well, she would basically refuse and would try to quote-unquote mark him. But thankfully, the three other girls basically, in his team, basically waking up. But unfortunately, they're pretty much pissed off at her for basically trying to get into Izuku's pants. Yeah, oh boy. And so, yeah, let's just say a big brawl happened, and it was basically 3 in the morning. So yeah, after Glinda Goodwitch basically heard of this, well, she was pretty much pissed off and would basically just be angry at them for basically trying to do some quote unquote indecent acts. And so after that day, we basically, see all of them basically, going to their, normal schedules. More specifically, their normal classes, which, were pretty normal, except for most of the girls basically glaring at, RWBY. Not really RWBY, I meant Weiss. Yeah, let's just say Weiss is now hated by the rest of the female population there. So, yeah. So, after, a while of basically doing some classes, Glinda Goodwitch would basically tell all of them that they're gonna be going to the Forever Fall Forest to basically, get some sap there. After doing so, everybody would basically start to leave, as after leaving, they would arrive at Forever Fall, Forest and would basically get the sap. After a while basically getting this, sap, including Izuku, he would basically notice that, Jean or Joan is basically going with Cardin while the rest of his, with the rest of his, of his team, more specifically Team Cardinal are basically, not joining him. And definitely look a bit weird. And so, after leaving, we basically see him basically, basically going with Jean. As after, following them, he would notice them basically, talking. And after, hearing that Jean basically got in thanks to the help of, cheating, he would basically say, specifically Cardin, if she listens to him, and basically, act as like, let's just say a horrible thing, let's just say that. And yeah, oh boy, and he wouldn't basically, tell everybody. Basically, blackmail. Yeah. So, after, basically trying to, the R-word her, he would basically, specifically Izuku would decide to, just, basically get a lot of evidence, from this. Mostly, pictures, photos, and finally, audio files. And after Glinda Goodwitch basically arrives there and basically told everybody to basically get going because they're about to leave, all of them would basically go back to Beacon. And after Izuku got back there, he would basically, start to leave to go to, Osmond's office. And after giving them the evidence, specifically, to both Osmond and also Goodwitch, well, let's just say they're pretty much pissed off at Cardin. And so, early in the morning, would basically announce to everybody that Cardin is going to be expelled because of his actions. And after hearing this, he would basically say to them that he doesn't, they don't really have any evidence. And right on cue, they would decide to bring in the evidence, and oh boy, let's just say he was basically flamed for this. And so Cardin would basically leave, you know, Beacon, and after being told that apparently other, um, Huntsman academies, like for example, Atlas, things of that sort, well, they're not even, allowing him to basically join them at all, especially Atlas, because after hearing that he was about to, let's just say, rhymes with grape, Joan, well, let's just say they don't really want him. Just like like instantly push him away. So yeah, so because of this, let's just say Team Cardinal is no more, and because of that, we need to get a new leader for them. And so this is where Izuku comes in. So yeah, that is basically what happened last episode. And so let us talk about what happens next. So, after the day that, Cardin was basically kicked out of, kicked out of, Beacon, we currently see Izuku basically doing his normal thing, basically with Team RWBY. As while he was basically in class, he would notice that, the rest of Team Cardin, specifically, actually, I don't really remember their names. Actually, just let me check. Okay, the current members are I don't really know. I'm actually going to actually, guys, I want all of you guys to basically come up with like gender bent names for the other members of like of Team Cardinal, specifically these three. These are Russell Trust, Bronzewing, and finally Skylark. So I want all of you guys to basically come up with names, or at least gender bent names for them. As after noticing that they're basically gone, he would say, well, it does make sense. After all, their, team leaders basically, forever punished for basically doing that to her. He would say with a sigh, as he would start to think, but they also did have to get, well, let's just say, some, some horrible, and I mean horrible, things happen to them by Cardin, he would say to himself, but he would just sigh as he would look over and would see, everybody just like, listening to, Professor Oobleck. So, after a while, basically, Oobleck's like lectures, they would see, Oobleck basically telling everybody that it's time for them to leave. And so, after leaving, we currently see Izuku basically, getting ready to leave to his dorm room. As after, getting ready to leave, he would notice, the rest of Team Rui would say this, hey Izuku, as Izuku would look over and would see, Ruby. As Ruby would say this, hey Izuku, maybe we can go to, go to the city and maybe have a bit of, fun, maybe like hang out. As Izuku would say this, I guess, but I'm pretty much busy with something important, he would say. As one of them would say this, specifically, Yang. As she would say, oh, are you perhaps busy, busy with, like, one of our assignments? As he would say this, yeah, I prefer to, finish it early so I can do other stuff, like, in the meanwhile, he would say. As one of them would say this, oh, don't worry, it's gonna be quick, said, Blake, with a, somewhat sweet tone. As Izuku would just sigh as he would say this. Fine, he would say, as, Ruby would say this. Cool, as she would basically, grab onto Izuku's arm and they would start leaving. As he would say this, at least let me put back my stuff, he would say, as she would say this. Sorry, but we need to go now. And after saying this, they would basically start to leave. So, after, basically getting into the city, he would say this. So, why are we here exactly? As she would say this, specifically, Blake. Well, we're here to basically get ingredients. As he would say this, ingredients for what? As after saying this, one of them specifically, well, Wise would say this. Well, because it's going to be the Vista Festival soon, so I want to basically create, some delicious treats so we can basically so we can basically give them to, to the visiting, people from the other, continent. After saying this, Izuku would say this. So basically like a welcoming gift, sort of, you would say, as she would say this. Yes, I guess you could say that. As after saying this, Yang would say this. She's basically trying to, get some information out of them. As, we currently see, a pretty, angry, well, a pretty angry Weiss, as she would say this. I'm not doing that, she would say. As, Izuku would start laughing a little bit as he would say this. Alright, guess I'll help you out. But why me exactly? As all of them would just look at him. As one of them would say this. You're acting as like, the one that's going to be carrying the bag, said, Weiss. As he would say this. Yes, my scrolls, he would say. As one of them would say this, specifically, Blake. Yeah, pretty much, he would say. And so, after saying that, they would start leaving to go to, to a nearby bakery shop. So, after getting a lot of ingredients, and thanks to the help of his, scrolls, not really scroll, as in, basically the equivalent of like a phone there, as in, Naruto scrolls, he would basically grab some of the, food and basically put them in. After doing so, he would start to leave. So, as while he was basically leaving, we currently see him basically there looking at, at some nearby, at some nearby buildings. As while he was, doing all of this, he would basically, sense this, this sense of like malicious intent. After feeling this, he would start looking around as one of them would say this, specifically Blake. Hey, Izuku, are you okay? As Izuku would say this. Oh, just fine. I just feel a bit weird, he would say, as he would start looking around even more, thinking, what the hell is this, he would say. Even though he doesn't have the, the true sticking balls, around him, he can still sense it thanks to help of his, Six Tomoe Renegon. So, while he was feeling this energy, almost this, malicious one to be more specific, he would start, feeling something nearby, like some people are basically causing a bit of trouble. So, currently in a different district, we currently see, Roman Torchwick basically, getting a lot of dust, as he would say this. I think that's done, he would say, as we currently see Neapolitan basically, just like, her, she's basically right beside her phone, basically trying to maybe call, Izuku. As she would basically, putting her hand a little bit away, as she would say this. She would basically be a little bit frustrated. And I mean frustrated a lot. Wait for a second. Sorry about that. So, we currently see, Neapolitan over there basically maybe trying to, maybe at least, talk to, Izuku, but unfortunately her skull broke and had to bring it to, like, a nearby, scroll fixing shop. As she was currently, pretty much, bored out of her mind. As she was basically, writing on her book, basically, not really book, but more like a sketch pad than anything else. She seems to be drawing, her and Izuku in a simple, like, wedding dress, or at least a cartoonish one, to say the least. Yeah, she's pretty much obsessed towards him right now. As we currently see, Torchwick basically commanding some of the, these people that seem to be wearing, weird-looking grim-like masks and seem to be fonduses. As he would say this, no, you absolute animals, he would say, as one of them seems to be quite scared, as he would say this, put it over there, you idiots, he would say, as after doing so, they would basically start bringing the crates nearby, as he would basically just sigh as he would say this, these absolute idiots, he would say, as he would look over and look towards, Neapolitan, as he would say this, Neo, what are you doing? As she would basically cover up her, her book, or at least her sketch pad, as she would basically, put it, right behind her, as she would basically just, grab her, like, yeah, I guess you could say, like, sticky notes. No, it's more like, a sketch pad than anything else. As she would start writing over there, as after writing, it would say, what is it? As after doing so, he would say this. What are you writing down? Or drawing in this case, he would say. As she would say this. Or at least, not really say, but more like writing down. As she would, as the, the sign would say, what are you talking about? I'm not drawing or anything. As it would have like a, a sweaty face, or at least, a somewhat nervous face or emoji on the, on the pad. As he would say this. Sure, he would say. as he would walk, nearby, as he would basically grab the book without her knowing. As after grabbing the sketchbook, he would basically look, at the drawings, as after seeing them, he would start to feel a little bit worried, as he would say this. Seriously, the green-haired kid is certainly going to have a field day, he would say to himself. And he's certainly, well, let's just say, certainly going to be, I guess you could say, he would basically start to get a headache a little bit, as he would say. Oh, I'm not really interested in becoming a grandfather, he would say to himself. As after saying that to himself, he would look back towards Neo, as he would basically put back, the sketch pad nearby, as he would say this. Alright, animals, start going. As he would start leaving, as we currently see Torchwick basically going down on, basically sitting down on his desk, as he would basically lit up a cigarette, as he would say this. Why is she coming here, he would say. I mean, she is quite powerful, but still, she doesn't really need to. As before you can say anything else, you would hear a womanly voice. Then what is it exactly, Torchwick, he would say, and she would say, as he would basically jump a little bit, as he would look towards a girl. We currently see a girl with a red dress, and with, golden outlines, or at least golden designs all over the dress. She seems to have dark hair and red burning, almost red burning eyes, similar to, flaming coals. She would say this. Torchwick, what were you saying about me? As after saying this, he would say this. Nothing, boss, he would say. As he would basically have this almost like, scared, expression. As she would say this. I see. Then, what about all of the dust, he would say. She would say. As, he would say this. Well, Cinder, it seems that we got a lot of dust, but currently we're still need to get a lot of more shipments from the Schnee Dust Company that's planning to basically drop off a few more dust crystals, he would say. As she would say this. I see, she would say, with, a little bit of like a simple, almost like, cold tone, even though her eyes basically betray fire. As she would say this. Then, I want you to do, at least this, he would say. She would say, as she would snap her fingers as two people arrive. One of them seems to be a girl. A girl with, greenish hair and... A girl with green hair and, reddish eyes. Similar to Izuku's, greenish hair, but a little bit darker, and her eyes are red, while his eyes are, multicolored at this point. Like, seriously, he has multiple different colored eyes. And after seeing her, she would say this. What is it, Cinder, she would say. As, she would say this. Well then, Emerald, I wanted to help out Roman and his problem, he would say. And she would say, she would say this. Fine then, Cinder, she would say with a somewhat scared tone, as she would look over to the other person nearby. This person seems to have, long, silverish hair, and also seems to have silverish eyes. With silver eyes, as she seems to be wearing, a grayish, jacket, with, some pretty short, like, jeans. Like, really short, like, basically, where her thigh begins. As she would also be wearing, these almost mechanical shoes, or boots. As she would say this. Fine, Cinder, guess I'll help her out as well. As, she would say this. Well then, Mercury, make sure to at least, try to do your job. As she would say this. Fine, boss woman, she would say. As after saying that, she would basically start, going with this girl by the name of Emerald. So, after doing so, she would say this. I'll be taking my leave. Now, Torchwick, try not to fail me. As, he would say this. Yes, ma'am, he would say with a scared tone. As we currently see both of them just like laughing a little bit, seeing his scared state. And after leaving, he would look towards the two girls, as he would say this. Try not to get in my way, he would say. As one of them would say this. Try not to, get in your way. Well, we were tasked to basically, get in sort of in your way by, Cinder over there. As he would say this. Don't get smart with me, girl, he would say. As he would start leaving. As the girl by the name of Mercury would say this. Well, we should probably get going. maybe we can go see the sights, she would say. As, Emerald would say this. Doubt it, she would say. I am really planning to basically go back to that little library. After all, that guy almost tried to basically release some of the information about us. As she would say this. Yeah, why not kill him, she would say. As she would say this. Well then, that seems like a great idea. I'll be leaving then, she would say. As after a bit of walking with, the girl by the name of, Emerald, as for Mercury, she would also start to leave as well with her. So, currently we see, Izuku basically back at, the dorms, specifically in the kitchen. We currently see him basically cooking a lot of, baked goods. I'm actually basing it off one of the, Wattpad stories. I can't remember the actual name of it, but I loved it. It was super hilarious. I especially love how, the main character is basically being forced to basically cook for Weiss. It was absolutely fucking hilarious. He's like a fucking zombie at that point. Oh god. If you know what the Wattpad, story's name, then, post it in the comments. I would love everybody to basically watch it. Or, read it at least. Because it's so good. So, yeah, continuing on with the episode, we currently see Izuku basically, kicking up some baked goods. Mostly, cinnamon rolls, some croissants, and baguettes. Also some, other desserts. Like, for example, just imagine that, actually, I don't really know what is that actually called, but it's basically like, this Filipino dessert that we always get, in bakeries. It's basically like, it's basically like, jam in the middle, or more specifically, whatever that, reddish, purplish stuff is, as it basically, rolled up into this, puff pastry type thing. It's so good. Like, seriously, it's one of my top favorites. And also egg pies. And if you don't know what is egg pie, then you should definitely go try it. It's so good. It's also one of my other favorites. So, while he was basically cooking them, we currently see, all four of the girls basically seeing him basically cook. As one of them would say this. I mean, he's pretty good at cooking. As said, Ruby, as she would say this. Hey, Izuku, as Izuku would say this. Yeah, he would say, as you would wipe off a bit of, wipe a little bit of the, of the batter basically off his face, as she would say this. Can you make cookies, specifically chocolate chip? She would say, as Izuku would say this. Yeah, sure, but we don't really have any chocolate chips, but I do have chocolate chunks, as she would say this. That's a bit better, she would say, as Izuku would say this. Sure, I guess, he would say. As after, getting the chocolate chunks, he would decide to make, some chocolate, not really chocolate chips, but more like, chocolate cookies than anything else. So, we currently see him basically cooking those as well, and maybe planning to basically, add them to the, to the batch as well. As while he was cooking, in the nearby rooms, they're basically smelling all of that, that delicious baked goodness. As Ren is basically saying to himself, oh god, he would basically start to think, please don't tell me Nora, as he would start, going towards, where the smell is, as he would basically knock on the door, as, after hearing this, one of them would say this, specifically, Blake, I'll get it, as when she did, she would basically open the door and would see, Ren, as she would say this, what is it, Ren, she would say, as she would say this, I meant he, please guys, please try not to, get all of that smell here. It's basically reaching towards, our rooms. As Izuku would say this. Why is that, so scary, he would say. As he would say this. You know Nora, right? As he would say this. Yeah, what? But before he can say anything else, he was slammed against, he was basically slammed towards, a nearby, slammed all the way to the, to the end of the hallway. Literally, slammed. So, after being slammed, across the hallway, we currently see a really hungry, a really hungry Nora, as she would say this. Alright, where's the food, she would say, as she would basically wield up her hammer, as she would say this. I want those, she would say, as she would look towards all the baked goods. As, Weiss is currently there basically getting ready to defend the food, as she would say this. No, 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 we're not giving those for free. Besides, we're gonna be giving them to, some students going to be, planning that are, planning to basically go to, Beacon soon. As after saying this, she would say this. Don't care. Give me the big goods, she would say. As she would start rushing towards, the big goods. As we currently see Izuku basically, still cooking, as he would say this. I guess I'll just have to do it, he would say, as he would summon a few shadow clones, as these few shadow clones would basically appear out of nowhere, as he would say this. Please take care of Nora, he would say, as both of them would agree and would basically get ready to basically restrain Nora by using, well, wood release. Yeah, he is basically able to use any type of release or elemental based release. Like for example, storm release to magma release, steam release, any type of release that's basically, elemental based. Even explosion release and also maybe, I think it was called like, bone release. Or if I'm wrong, then, comment down below. I think I heard that there was actually another name for that specific release, but he's also able to do bone release and, an all-killing ash bones technique, where he's basically able to create bones that basically turn any person to ash by touching them. So, yeah. So, after doing so, these, the wood release, or at least the wood-like cage, would basically appear out of nowhere, trapping, Nora, as she would say this. Oh, come on, she would say, as she would try to break down the wooden, bars, but they were so strong to the point that it basically just like, every time when she uses her hammer, it would just bounce off. As Izuku would start laughing a little bit as he would say this. Sorry, Nora, but you're not allowed to basically eat the baked goods. But I am maybe, give you some of the extras, he would say. As after saying this, she would say this. Wait, really? She would say, as Izuku would say this. Yeah, but for now, you should probably get back to your dorms. As after saying this, she would say this. Sure then. As after doing so, she would basically get out of the, room as she would say this. Hey, Ren! As Ren would just look pretty much disoriented as he would say this. I don't feel good. My head feels, funny, he would say. As, Nora would decide to drag him by his collar and would basically say goodbye to them. After doing so, everybody would just look at Izuku as one of them would say this. What was that move? Said, a pretty confused, a really confused Weiss, as he would say this. Oh, that's one of my other techniques. It basically allows you to use different types of elements, from storm to, fire to water to earth, things of that sort. As she would say this. You're basically able to do what? She would say, as Izuku would say this. Yeah, it's a bit complicated, but, either way, we should probably, continue on with basically, making the baked goods. After doing so, they would decide to, keep continuing on, basically cooking some of the, some of the baked goods, with the help of Izuku's shadow clones and some of the girls' help, by basically decorating the food, or the baked goods. And after doing so, they would basically put the baked goods in the fridge, or at least some of the food. The others are basically, in special, like, heating, I guess you say something of that sort. And also maybe some scrolls. Actually, never mind. Basically, all of them are basically stored in scrolls, and they're basically, keeping their, warmness, like their, big, basically that type of feeling where you're basically eating an actual baked good, like fresh out of the oven. That's basically what it is. So yeah, because of the scrolls, he's basically able to basically keep them at their freshness. And so, after doing so, he would basically put the scrolls, in his bag, and would basically tell everybody that they should probably get to sleep. And so, everybody would start getting back to, going back to their, to the bedroom, and would get ready to fall asleep. But before he can, he would get a message from a scroll, and after answering it, he would hear, Ospen? As Ospen would say this. Hey, Izuku, he would say, as Izuku would say this. Yeah, Ospen? As Ospen would say this. Well, I want you to go to the, principal's office soon. And I mean now. As after saying this, he would say this. Fine, he would say. As after saying this, he would start stretching a little bit, as some of the girls would say this. Hey, Izuku? As Izuku would look towards them as Ruby would say this. What happened? Are you going somewhere? As after Ruby would say this, Izuku would say this. Well, I have to go to the principal's office. Apparently Osborne wants to talk to me. As after saying this, Blake would say this. Why is it exactly? As after saying this, Izuku would say this. I don't really know. As after saying that, Yang would say this. Maybe it's something about, yesterday, more specifically after Cardin's, expulsion. As after saying this, Izuku just looked at her as he would say this. Pretty doubt it, he would say. She would say this. Yeah, probably. And after saying so, Izuku would start changing his clothes as he would say goodbye to the girls, telling them that they should probably get to sleep. So, after leaving his dorm room, we currently see Izuku basically arriving at, where Osmond is. As Osmond would say this, Izuku, come in, come in. As after doing so, he would basically walk into, into the room where Osmond is, as he would say this. Yes, Osmond, he would say, as Osmond would say this. Well, you know about Team Cardinal, right? And ever since they basically, been banned to basically, no longer, more like specifically Cardin, who is banned from becoming a huntsman anymore. As after saying this, Izuku would just say this. Yeah, what about it? As he would say this. Well, because Team Cardinal doesn't have a leader anymore, why not you become the leader of Team Cardin now? I mean, it would pretty much make sense, after all. Being in a, a team with all girls, I mean, it's not going to be making a difference. I mean, the rest of the team of Team Cardin is also girls, but still. As after saying this, he would look at them as he would say this again. I meant this, specifically. Wait, really? Then, actually, what do you mean by, that I'm going to be, working with them, or at least becoming their leader? As she would say this, I meant he. Well, it's pretty, easy to say. You're basically going to be their new leader. And because of that, you're going to be working with them now. As he would say this. Huh. I see, he would say. As after thinking about it, Izuku would say this. Sure, why not? But, what about Team RWBY? As he would say this. Well, I can certainly talk to them about that situation, or at least, your whole situation right now. So, you can run along and basically go to sleep. After all, you're gonna be, it's gonna be a pretty nice day tomorrow. After all, I heard that because soon it's going to be the Vista Festival. So I think it's better for you to basically look around the place and basically see all of the decorations. After saying this, Izuku would say this. I guess. Anyway, see ya, he would say, as he would start to leave. As after doing so, Osmond would just look at him as he would say this. Well, certainly, Izuku. You're quite interesting, he would say, as his eyes would start to gleam a little bit. Currently, we go to a different perspective. Currently, in a different, part of, a Vale. We currently see, a few, members of this, organization, which after seeing it, we currently see a logo on, one of the, members that, that seem to be working with, what's his name? Yeah, Roman Torchwick, seems to be a symbol that resembles a beast, or more specifically, a panther? Or at least I think it's a panther. With a large scar basically, running along it, as it seems to be white in a, black background. As after doing so, after seeing that, we currently see them basically, grabbing a lot of dust from a nearby, dust shop, as they're basically holding, some of the hostages at gunpoint, as he would say this. You better listen up. As after saying this, what did he say this? I promise, we'll give you every single dust, we got. Please, just don't hurt me. I have a family, he would say. As he would say this. Good. After saying that, he would basically look at his men as he would say this. Alright, get every single dust crystal that you can get. After saying this, they would start, grabbing a lot of dust crystals, and after doing so, they would start to leave. Seeing that the place is now ruined, as we currently see them basically running off with the dust. As he would say this. Hey, boss! After saying this, we currently hear the sound of, Roman Torchwick in the, scroll, as he would say this. So, Did anything go wrong, he would say, as he would say this. Nope, perfectly fine. And we got all of the dust, as he would say this. Good. Now, what about the two others, he would say, as he would say this. You mean not Ruby, I meant, are you talking about the Emerald Girl and, Mercury over there? Well, I don't really know. Apparently they're going around, Veil doing their own thing. As he would say this. Those two idiots, he would say. For now, if we find them, maybe at least bring them back here. I don't want them causing any trouble. As he would say this. Sure thing, boss. After doing so, we currently see them basically running off into the darkness, basically leaving the now run-down dust shop, basically now ruined by them basically destroying the place and grabbing any dust that can find. And so, we're gonna be ending this episode right off here. So, yeah. So, I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!